Hello, Toolboxers, and welcome to episode 293 of the Immigration Learners Toolbox. This is a really special one because it's with Ruby Powers. You may know her from Ayla, and she thinks she's done for writing books about practice management and life. We caught up at the conference and said, we got to do more stuff together. So I'm going to be doing a deep dive roundtable as part of a monthly program that she has, exploring law practice management, hot topics, and things we've learned from the Ayla conference and more. That is scheduled for July 26th. So, this recording should be out before there. If you want to learn about it, July 26th, 12 p.m. CST Central Time, I think that is. Email me at info@immigrationlearnerstoolbox.com, and I'll send you a link to register to catch that. Should be very good. So we're going to have a lot of fun there. But in preparation for that, I'm doing this podcast to get to know Ruby. So check it out. You know her background. I question her as a founder of her firm and how she got it, and I go into specific questions about how she operates this stuff. So it's going to be really helpful to take your practice to the next level. You're going to really enjoy it. And that's just what we do here at the Toolbox. We got all this kind of information. And so I want to thank our sponsor, DocWise, for that, sponsoring this podcast. DocWise.com, the all-in-one form software, which you use. A lot of you use already. But if you haven't already, get the annual plan. If you haven't heard about it or tried it out, give it a try. Contact them, DocWise.com. And talk with their people, play around the software, get to know it, and see what you think, see if you want to make the switch, or maybe it's the first software that's using is DocWise.com. Now, on my end, our marriage green card course has been operating really well. We have a lot of different students, but I want to redo it to make it even better. Add the K1 fiance to the I-751. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of work. Hopefully get it up in August, and we'll see. The goal is for you guys to be able to, switch over to get to immigration, train your staff members potentially who are, getting hired and you don't have time to train them. We have the course for you: marriage, immigration, consular processing, adjustment of status, everybody in disability, all the things you need to know. Email me at info@immigrationlearnerstoolbox.com to get more information on that. I think you will like it. There's a lot of good stuff there. So what we're talking about right now is not legal guidance, mostly business stuff. So the warning is there, but it doesn't really make a difference. Wherever you're watching this, please go and leave a 5-star review so the word gets out. You know it. All you got to do is click 5 stars. If you want to write something, then do it, but just the 5 stars itself could be very helpful. Without further ado, let's get the show started. Hey, Ruby, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm really excited about getting to know you better, and the audience get to know you better today as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. I'm really glad we made this happen.
Yeah, the Ayla conference is magic on various levels, both with education-wise, but we've been trying to connect for years, it seems, and it just, fast forwarded our friendship and all this stuff got up and running just because we got to see each other. So you're in Houston. Are you Houston? Is that correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm in LA, but we got to see each other in Florida. Now, people may not be familiar. They probably are familiar. You wrote the book on immigration practice, so they've heard your name for sure. But let's start from the beginning. How did you get involved in law and immigration, and which way to go? It kind of blurs out with the thing, but it's
I guess the blurring. Oh, no. But yeah, that's right. So I mean, I wrote the book of a few years ago because I just didn't want to have people have to reinvent the wheel. And coming from a long line of entrepreneurs on both sides, I've just seen a lot of the pain and struggle of having a business, from the starting to maintaining and then like the end, and how do you sell, merge, or do you end up selling it for parts, because you haven't really thought it all through. So that was the reason why I wrote that book. And then just being in that space, I actually really love business in general. So I just get excited talking about these things and just always constantly trying to find ways to improve.
You said you come from a family of entrepreneurs. What kind of work or what kind of businesses were they involved in?
Well, on one side, they were Christian missionaries in Mexico. So I joke that their boss was God, and they had to, get donations and keep the whole thing running. And I've actually helping with the family nonprofit recently, actually. And then the other side were dairy farmers in Missouri, and just seeing the ups and downs with with the economy and how things were. I think there was a big buyout in the 1980s of dairy cows too, and farmers, just seeing that daily struggle that you go through. And my dad had his own shower mirror fixture, glass mirror shower fixture business, and my aunts had her own law firm for about 30 years. So, just seeing other entrepreneurs in my family go through all those
What
ups and
kind of
downs.
law firm?
She does estate planning and wills in Missouri.
Cool. One thing about missionaries is that they say they're the best salespeople because they're so accustomed to getting rejection and just keep going because it's so most people just give up. It's so hard to deal with the no, but the sales aspect of missionary can be very powerful.
I actually think it gave me like an extra leg up on like just on sales. You're right, on business development, because when I was exchange student with Rotary to Belgium, I had to talk about myself and talk about my country and talk about my state. And I was really good at it because I watched my grandparents talk about what they did with the mission and all the, and promoting that. And so that was almost like second nature, take photos, documented it before there was phones had all the fancy cameras on them.
Now, did you go to law school expecting to be an immigration attorney, or was it something you fell into?
I did actually. I every summer I interned in immigration, so I was pretty laser focused by law school. So I worked at the International Student Office at UT Austin in 2001, the year of 9/11. So that had a big impression on me. Then I worked for the Committee on Homeland Security on the House side in 2004. And then I later interned every summer in immigration, the nonprofits, private firms. So
Hmm.
that was my intention. By that point, I knew what I wanted to do. I like the international relations aspect, the cultural sensitivity, human rights, and just helping business owners as well. So
Yeah,
never a dull moment, right?
yeah.
So.
And did you start your own firm immediately, or did you work for other people until you took the plunge?
Well, I took the plunge mostly because of the economy. So I worked for two firms before starting my firm in November 2009. So that was the Great Recession
Yeah,
era. I graduated in
that's right. That's right. I graduated in 2009, November graduated.
yeah.
Everybody.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I graduated in May 2008. That I had two attorney jobs and got laid off two times and then started my firm the next day. On the second one, I was like, okay, let's just do this.
How much did you know about practicing immigration? I mean, you've done internships stuff, so how comfortable you were with the law aspect of it to file cases?
I think that if I wouldn't have done all those things I mentioned before, I don't think I would have been as confident. But because I had done so many internships and clerkships, I even was at the U of H immigration law school's immigration clinic,
Hmm.
and got exposure to court. And then the two attorney positions I had before I started my own firm. So, I mean, I had to just take the plunge, I mean, there weren't even positions available at the time, which is a stark difference from now. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, anyway, it's crazy how the pendulum swings.
Now, I'm not sure if my video looks frozen on my end. Do you see me frozen as well, or something happened?
Yes, I do see you frozen as well.
I'm definitely here. I have this really weird frozen. Whenever the camera freezes on you, you're not expecting. It's always a weird look. But I'm
Okay.
definitely here. Let me shut my camera off and on. Maybe that'll do something. But when you started your own firm, how did you end up getting your first clients?
It was on Justia or Ju, whatever you pronounce it,
Mhm.
Justia. That's where I found my first client. But well, actually, no, let me retract that. I found my first client when I was registering my business in line at the tax office. Um,
Wow.
the guy like in front of me or behind me was registering his DBA because his business was 10 years old and he needed to naturalize. So I was I guess that's a good sign. I was able to convert someone into a client right away.
Nice. What kind of case was it?
It was naturalization.
Okay.
So
So Just Deal is good. I mean, everyone should have a profile on there because the profile is free, and they have a paid version of it too, which is hit and miss. But what was like the big thing that got your the ball rolling for you?
well, I think when I learned about Google AdWords the following spring, and I sort of finagled how to figure those out, I think that really helped. I mean, now I feel like you have to have a PhD in them,
Yeah.
Google Ads, but back in like 2010, I sort of figured it out, and that sort of catapulted me on another level. I mean, I was extremely jealous of everybody who said they didn't advertise because they had such good word of mouth. I was like, well, what does a person do who just starts their firm? Like,
Yeah.
I just showed up to the party, It's like, how are they supposed to find me? So
It's
I
an
was,
annoying thing that because on Facebook, people say, "How do I start?" And they're like, "It's all word of
yeah.
mouth." But it's not a fair response because everyone has to start somewhere. And if you started 20 years ago, like it was a different environment than it is now. So
Well,
it's not fair thing to
and
say.
I think now that my firm's 14 years old, practicing 15 years total, like you have to have a steady stream of cultivating the repeat business and word
Yeah.
of mouth, and then you have to also be out there looking for new business, or else it could dry up,
Yeah.
And so you need, depending on what your growth, structure and goals are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a combination of just telling everybody, being on all those directories, answering tons of questions on Avo, because that was really hot back in 2009. And
I remember it's all like I remember when I started my firm,
yeah,
all this stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
the
So
Avo thing was just like he was just all day obsessing over answering questions to get attention.
right, there's a lot of hustle, and it's still hustling,
Yeah,
because they change algorithms and the systems can change, and then there's, something can go viral. So but you have to be out there in all different places, depending on who you're trying to attract. So
so
uh,
what is how's your firm right now, structure wise? I mean, team members and which direction you want to go right now?
well, we're full service immigration law practice. We have about, let's just say, maybe 25 team members and 6 virtual assistants. Everybody else is either complete hybrid rotation of some sort.
Hmm.
And we moved to a new location in November 2022. And we literally can only hold about 10 employees or team members at any given time. So that's why it works out well that we have virtual assistants and hybrid. But we've really seen a growth in litigation, from mandamuses to immigration court. And just, we're just riding those waves,
Yeah.
because we've gone through recessions, mini recessions, pandemics. And we know that that's why I enjoy being a full service practice, because I have multiple areas within immigration that we can focus on, and help our clients, especially if things are taking longer because courts closed or consulates are closed, or processing times are ridiculously long, like I-601As,
Oh
4
yeah.
years. So that's where we're at. But my immediate focus is to improve all of our systems and
Hmm.
leverage technology to scale. And that's really why I wanted to do this upcoming webinar together, because the law practice management aspect of the annual conference recently just really got me like excited about where things are going. And I just love sharing ideas, going, finding out, okay, I'm not crazy, this is what I think, other people are thinking the same thing,
Yeah.
or, oh, cool idea, I hadn't heard of that before. So I get a real big kick out of conferences.
Yeah, and you just said this operation, fine tune the operation for scaling is something that's been my major goal this year. Now that I have a team, it actually allows me to step back and look at it, and you find all these
Exactly.
failures left and right. I'm like, oh my god, what have I been doing all these years?
Right, right. So, and that happened to me. An associate came back to the firm recently, and we'd worked together like a few years, and she's taken off a lot of pressure off of my normal day to day, and now I have a lot more clarity. And because of that, now I was just saying to a consultant recently, like I'm actually like seeing a lot of. I have the white space in my calendar to sort of
Yeah.
like breathe and see things I wasn't able to see, and that goes back to that whole concept of like working on your business, not in your business. And when you're doing so much of the day to day, which is a part of it, but like you really can't see the 30,000
Mhm.
foot view of like what the world looks like, and if you're, what could improve with your business.
You know, I watch TikTok and videos a lot, but it was something that some guy said that like the farther along the future you look, the higher you are in the food chain of the company, and the more probably money you make. So if you're thinking about today's stuff, just day
Mhm.
to day, it's lower amount. But if you're thinking like 5, 10 years down the line, that means you're probably way up. And people who are billionaires had to plan out that far ahead of time. So the more you have time to spend thinking about what are we going to do in 3, 4 years from now, the more successful you'll end up being, and you are most likely.
Well, and the thing is that there's a struggle to get there because you have to find people, like you just said, you have this team now. You have to find people, you have to be able to delegate, you have to be organized, you have to communicate, and then you have to trust, and then you have to and oversee. You can't just like
Yeah.
give it to them and walk away. You have to be able to check in and do quality control, and then with that freedom, then you can start seeing the bigger picture. But it doesn't come inherently. You have to be able to build to that, and that's a struggle because a lot of business owners are in some type of you know, I don't want to say, there's just some sort of like a little bit of a trap of some sort where they're just can't get that freedom to breathe. And I think that's another indicator of like how well you've delegated in your systems, like how long can you go and things still run.
Yeah.
And when I did the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Businesses program like 8 years ago, I had to get away to go do my conference to do my class.
Yeah.
And it'd be half a day or it'd be a whole day. And that's when I really realized, like, was I the person who was just putting the finger and keeping everything, from spilling apart? Or was I the bottleneck, for whatever reason, because I hadn't empowered somebody else? That was a really good exercise for me.
Mhm.
Because then I realized, how do I keep things going without me? And it's not all about me. Like, some people keep it that way because they want to feel needed. But a lot of business owners don't think of it like this. But really, a successful situation is that you work yourself out of a job, that
Yeah.
you've systemized the whole thing. But when I say that to people, usually their jaw drops and they think I'm crazy. But like,
No, that's how successful businesses are. Yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of psychological issues dealing with like giving power away and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going on vacation tomorrow. And it's really important to see. I still am going to check my phone and the computer, but one thing I recently did is that my emails from my office just go to info@jklaw.com, which is my email. But I create a separate email now, john@jklaw.com. And I'm
uh,
like, certain things like banking and stuff like that, which I got to do myself, some financial stuff I'm going to send there. But I want to make it so in a virtual as a VA could go to info@jklaw and do all the stuff there. So if I'm out for a week, there's someone there I could delegate and do stuff and give it to their associates, or so everyone could access it, kind of thing. And then if there's really urgent stuff that's maybe, again, financial, I got to write a check or something to me. So the goal is to have that email opened up, and I got to think about that every day, and I kind of forgot about it, and you remind me I got to focus on pushing people to that email if it's like a urgent thing. And the other
mhm.
thing, get less and less cases, and I get better at it some months and other months, but like not doing cases every day because those suck you in on a day-to-day thought process of getting caught up and stuff. That's probably the hardest thing I have right now is just not doing a consultation and remembering to say, okay, my associate's going to call you back, not me or something like that. Not just saying, okay, I'll help you out. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I was supposed to do the case myself. I'm supposed to give it out. I'm so used to like closing the deal and doing it myself. Um,
I hear you. I hear you. And I actually have one and a half executive assistants, and one is just the part-time one. Her job is to go through my emails at the end of every day and just sort of siphon things out so that it doesn't go ridiculous. But I mean, I just have one main law firm, but I do have other multiple emails, but for
yeah.
different entities. But yeah, I mean, I think it might be complicated to figure out which email to send to what for those type of things, but you could do that. And yeah, it's been really great help because otherwise I would probably be spending hours and hours a day going through email and also would never feel like I could really properly unplug.
Well, it's kind of like if we get leads, we have fixed responses already that we use. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have to respond to all of them. I like it's interesting when leads come in 'cause it's exciting. It's like, oh, I got a lead, but at the same time, there's just a lot of little things that like I don't really someone else could do. So I'm like, just give that email address to them, but
Yeah.
I'm still trying to work out all this stuff. Now, with regards to the team members you have, is there any particular statistic or KPI that means a lot to you? You try to check because I'm trying to figure out what KPIs apply to law firms. And KPIs are numbers, is statistics that really help you that you need to use to analyze things. And for those who don't know, I don't know what it stands for, KPIs, but we call them KPIs. Uh,
Performance indicator. Yeah. Key
Performance
performance
indicators. Yeah,
indicator. Yeah.
is there
Right.
one in particular you'd share? Like this is one like I would like to look at.
Well, recently I was evaluating, well, okay, I was listening to a really good book. I have to think about what it's called on Audible, but there's one about like productivity per employee hour. you can calculate from the revenue or the income to dividing like how hours that you worked in your practice. I'm listening to Simple Numbers, Straight Talk, Big Profits by Greg Crabtree. He's a CPA and he's talking about some of the things he normally has to address and issues with business owners. And considering finance and number and those things are sort of like not my favorite topic, I'm like making myself listen to that, but it's actually a pretty good book. The other one I'm really focusing on right now is just like how long are cases taking to be submitted, and per assistant, per case type, because we're analyzing like which assistant we should be focusing on certain cases over others, and because they might be better at them. And then also just how long things take per assistant and how many cases they have, just so we're keeping an eye on that. But that's just one like I'm really focused on right now. But I think we all need to have a dashboard, and I'm actually working on building that up right now. Sometimes we might look at our finances. Like I have QuickBooks Online. I can go in there and do a P&L, run some reports. I can look at year to date from last year and things like that, and sort of see how we're doing, and run those different numbers. But then I think we also need to, look at labor and production, as some people call that side, from the law practice, the legal assistant side too.
When it comes to team members, if they came and ask you, or when it comes to hiring in your initial overview, if you want to tell them what is a successful employee at our firm or a team member at our firm, what are the things that would make you say, okay, this person is achieving the results?
Well, I would
Open-ended because there's different positions, but maybe just in general,
yeah,
maybe overlap.
I would say being a team player, listening to instructions, going, being also an independent thinker too, like finding ways to improve. Like I love it when a staff member like takes initiative and finds ways to improve things or suggest an improvement. I know some firms, businesses, the culture might be like, don't you dare question how we do things. That's not me. I'm like, if you've got a better look, I've had the same job for 14 years. There could be something I don't know, right? Because I've just been here, So if you've seen something really cool at some other place, then tell me about it. Or if like I also like with the associate that just came back after being gone for about a year and a half, I'm like, look, you have this really great point of view. You were here before, you've been gone, you've seen something else, you're coming back. I want let's leverage that insight, and how are things improved for the better, or how have some things like gotten worse, or like thinking from an outsider's perspective. And I bring that up on a regular basis. Like, please, let's find ways that we can improve. Even on their performance evaluations, I ask, how could we be more efficient? How could we be a better firm? So anyway, I guess I would just say be able to do the competencies in their job description, but be a team player and go the extra mile, and constantly, be invested in the firm, so that they're trying to provide that great customer service and find ways to improve for everyone to benefit from.
Here, I was going to ask you, do we say broad associate? Because you could bring so much outside information from that. Some people hire laterals on purpose from other firms, especially bigger firms, so they can see what kind of technology they use, what kind of metrics they use, and they can absorb that into their culture and their system. So it's a good technique to do stuff like that. I guess one last question. I don't want to take too much of your time, but is there any particular technology tool that you use that's a game changer for you?
Um,
And right when I said that, it froze. So I was listening, wait for Ruby to come back. Ruby, sorry, my computer froze for a second. Go ahead. Well, you're going to say.
My face doesn't. I shouldn't be so expressive, because if I froze on a weird face, that would be bad. But I mean, I'm still using Vonage and Serenade Immigration. There's this program I learned. I think it was from Nadine, told me on a panel I was with, it called Nice Job. It's asked for reviews and helps templatize, like sort of automate asking for reviews. I'd seen programs like that before, but they just seemed a little bit out of price. And this one we're experimenting with. And I was using Otter AI for a while, but and there's a lot of these other programs that transcribed and things like that. I really, I would just suggest don't send it to all your calendar, because then people might think you're sending it instead of yourself. But I didn't do that on purpose. But Otter AI was really was good, because I could do like voice memo transcripts. But I know there's a lot better technology. There's a lot of technology in that space now. Like I started using it 2.5 years ago, and now there's like a whole bunch of competitors. But like that whole like audio transcribed, and then I know there's like ways to like translate and do a lot of those other things. So I'm working on some new technology for a dashboard and automating a lot of admin procedures, but I've sort of been scoping out different programs. So I can't officially give you the final word on that.
You know what would be cool? Like bigger firms go to Salesforce and they get a structure created for them. It costs like $1 million for these dashboards, but they make it so it's worth it. But one of the goals of the toolbox is putting all these solo and small practitioners to share information that these big firms do internally. If we could make a system like with Salesforce that has the KPI systems built, all this stuff, and I mean, it's a big thing to do and it's probably expensive, but they just get something ready as for immigration law firms that are smaller, 1 to 10 associates, 20 associates. That makes sense. That just popped in my head. That'd be like such a cool thing to have, but it's a lot of work.
Well, so I first learned about a company called Law KPIs, and a few years ago, and what that company does is it helps pull data from a lot of your systems to help give you a dashboard so you can put in the KPIs you want to watch. And then I was talking with Shiv with Analytics recently, at annual conference, and he does something very similar with his dashboard that he can build for you. But you're right. Like I'm looking to a lot of this to learn from some of those other larger firms, because we're getting out of like more of that small firm mentality now, that the size of growth we've had over the last few years. And that's where I'm at. Like I don't want to hire any more people until I've really cleaned my
Yeah.
systems, reevaluated them, leverage the tech to the fullest, and then prepare us to scale to the, on the next level. So that's an exciting place to be. It's a little overwhelming because I'm doing a lot of talks with vendors and evaluating. I was on one right before recording this, this is talking with you. And that's where I'm spending a lot of time, because I'm also just overwhelmed with the AI, because what if we latch ourselves to something today that gets sort of obsolete, or
Yeah.
in just a few months or something, or days.
I hear you. Speaking of being overwhelmed with stuff, it's we don't have time today, but we'll definitely probably talk about our roundtable. It's on July
Yeah.
26th, Wednesday, 12 p.m. CST. Is there a partnership track? How you develop that so to get the support of someone who's kind of has stake in the game at that point? But it's hard partnership. Like when I talk to my associates, if there's a partnership track, I'm like, I'll make one, but it seemes like so much work. I'm like, I don't even have time to even think about it. So let's I keep putting in the back.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like I brought up parts of that in my one of my chapters of my book, but I want in a further about I want to further elaborate a whole chapter to dedicate to that, because I honestly think that's the reason why small firms don't grow, or they struggle so much with turnover,
Mhm.
is because they can't retain that right hand
Yeah.
associate. I've seen it time and time again with a lot of my friends who it just didn't work, and then they had to go start their own firm, and then they had to go through all that struggles. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, I'm building a partnership track, actually, because I've watched all of that, and my firm's 14 years old, and I agree. I think that's a really key point. And the other thing that you and I worked on, John, I think we forget, was we were both on that business school
Yeah.
conference back in December, for Ayla, and there was one or two panels like specifically about building up your associates and about a partnership track. That was a really great program.
I made some notes when we were talking because when you're talking about selling a law firm and how to get out, part of that is maybe having a partnership that buys you out or over time. So that comes really important. The partnership track is towards the end sale. And everyone who starts a firm needs to think about how they're going to end it. So one of those things you
That's
need
right.
to
You have
beginning.
to keep the end in mind, and have your exit strategy. And exit strategy can't be like being carried off in a coffin,
Yeah.
which a lot of business owners
For
think. And
immigration sales, it's the standard. Yeah. It's like how
right,
half the
right.
field is. Yeah.
And a lot of times what happens is that people just sort of sell like a fire sale when they themselves or their spouse or somebody gets sick.
Yeah.
And that's not when to do it. You should be thinking about 10 years ahead, and you should be building the systems in place, because at some point I think your energy level doesn't sustain like all the things you did at the beginning of your
Yeah,
business.
for
And
sure.
you need a nice little pretty bow on it to sell.
And it's coming back to what he said about the conference in December. One of the speakers was Corey Joseph in Colorado, and she essentially full time and helps teach operations management for law firms. I'm like, and when you mentioned the podcast you're listening to, I'm like, Kirby needs to do a podcast talking about this stuff. She'll get a lot of clients, but she's really I mean, this is what she does all day. She thinks about. So I'm going to reach out to her, remind her, hey, do a podcast or come on our show and talk about this stuff. It's really helpful.
Yeah, she and I were both the law practice management chairs of the law practice management committee for AILA. And we worked closely together, and that's where I turned out a lot of articles on the topic, which will be like the basis of my book. So she's great, and she's done the same. She's built a partner track for her firm, and I just talked to her recently, and sounds like it's going really well.
Now we are running out of time, but I did want to mention you're going to be in Costa Rica because you have your own training programs for people in this position. Can you talk about what you can do in Costa Rica? Is it too late to sign up? I guess it's too late at this point,
I
but
mean, if depending on when this goes out, like maybe
the
we
goal
could.
is this week. Sometimes we got to edit it, but I mean for next time. But yeah, what is it that you?
I mean, they could reach out to me. We might be able to squeeze in a couple people, but so during the pandemic, I did a lot of like law practice management retreats. It was called Power Up Your Practice. And what I was doing was sort of going through my book and sort of analyzing and auditing all the different areas of your business, and sort of evaluating like, are you a rock star in that space, or do you need some work? And then at the end of it, we were able to create a list of goals, and like breaking it down as to like how to focus on that, because if you try to do too many things all at the same time, you won't
Yeah.
do any of them well, and you really have to just make focuses for per quarter. Maybe you do per 2 quarters, and that way you move forward, and who's responsible, and what is that, the SMART goals. So anyway, what I've done with this coming up retreat is to add some more like personal evaluation about yourself, because we, just like we were talking about how sometimes business owners don't want to delegate. Well, that's probably a self-limiting belief. That's some type of some prior event that might have happened to them that sort of has trust issues. And so I've been reading a lot of books about, like, we have this blueprint that sort of makes us do things subconsciously. We don't really know why.
Yeah.
And we have to observe those, identify them, and then we have to rewrite those blueprints, or coding, if you will. And so that first part of the retreat is going to be focusing more on that and self-analysis. And then the second part is going to be very similar to those power up retreats. And this one's in Costa Rica because that's been my dream, to do one internationally in a beautiful, wonderful, relaxing place. Because I think when you get out of your business, these eureka moments happen. But I'm planning to do another one in January, I believe, like somewhere in the South. That way, we can kick off the year right. And I'll be doing a lot more in the future.
Well, keep us posted. I'd be happy to publicize it here. One thing is I've had my best ideas for business when I'm on vacation and I'm relaxing. It just pops up. Like, that's some really game changer ideas. Probably the biggest game changer ideas have all been on vacation when I didn't expect it. So it's a must do. If I recommend people get your book, Build and Manage Your Successful Immigration Law Practice, published through AILA. So just go to Agora store and order that. And it really does break down. I got it myself, probably one of the first copies. I wish I brought it with me to Florida. I would have had you sign it, and that would have been cool. But I have it by my bedstand. And I'm just not saying that really is by my bedstand. And if people want to reach out to you to learn more about the stuff you do, because you have a lot of practice management information, training sessions, all this kind of stuff. What's one or two go-to places to go? One, social media, and secondly, a website for that.
Yeah, I mean, so rubypowers.com has a lot of information that you can lead to my power strategy group. And we also, you can find me on LinkedIn, Ruby Powers. And I think those are probably like good places to go. So for the power strategy group, we do monthly webinars, which is John's going to be on with me soon, and this month of July. And we do all those are all on YouTube, so you can go back and watch them. And then we also have a Facebook group, Power Up Your Practice, which we can join. And then Ruby at powerstrategygroup.com is that contact there, and you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty much between Powers Law Group and Power Strategy Group on most of the social media. And we have a newsletter for the Power Strategy Group that we send out once a month about what we're up to, some cool articles, things to think about. And we really just want to create a community like you're doing as well, in that law practice management space, so that people can converse and share ideas and just like not have to work so hard to find out really good information.
Yeah, some of the answers already there. You just got to know the right person to ask, and it speeds up. And the name is perfect, Power Strategy Group. You think that someone made that up because it's like a good name for something. It just came easy for you. Thank you. Stay on the line. I want to chat with you a little bit if you have time. But thank you everyone for listening. Ruby's great. I'm really happy. We're going to be working together on a lot of different things and projects in the coming year to help you all make your practice better. She's so kind and so helpful in sharing information, knowledge. So it's a match made in heaven. Two people who love immigration law and practice management together. So it's a very powerful combo. Thank you so much, Ruby, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Have you ever felt that the road to establishing a successful immigration law firm is riddled with unexpected obstacles and setbacks? I've been there, and I'm here to tell you, you are not alone. Picture this. My wife, then girlfriend, and I had just landed for a vacation, only to be greeted by a voicemail that changed everything. In an instant, once the plane landed, she lost her job. The very one job that was supposed to support us while I launched my own solo immigration law firm. Suddenly, our financial cushion vanished, and I was thrust into the high-stakes world of entrepreneurship with no safety net. Despite a slow start and a discouraging lack of leads and referrals, I remained determined to build a law firm that provided a 5-star client experience. After countless hours spent researching, watching, and implementing marketing strategies with mixed results, I eventually began to see my firm's revenues not only surpass my previous revenue and salary as an associate, but double it. Today, I run a successful law firm with a team of associates and support staff, and I'm the proud founder of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine, podcasts, courses, workshops, and more. But my journey wasn't easy. I made many mistakes, wasted time and money, and wished I had a mentor to guide me through the challenges. Although I was fortunate enough to find a few peers who offered support, I couldn't shake the feeling that there had to be a better way. That's why I decided to be the change I'd wish I'd seen. This month, I'm thrilled to announce the launch of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox Private Mentorship and Peer Group. This exclusive group is designed to bring solo and small firm practitioners in a monthly, private, and intimate setting to openly discuss business strategies, share successes, even exchange invaluable tactics that they wouldn't share anywhere else. By joining this premium group, you'll not only benefit from my hard-earned expertise, but also forging long-lasting relationships with like-minded professionals who are committed to elevating their practices. Space is limited for this game-changing opportunity. If you're ready to make a real, lasting impact on your business, simply email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. Again, that's info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. And I'll send you all the information you need to get started. Don't miss this chance to transform your immigration law firm and reach new heights of success.